wheelbarrow. What do I mean by the wheelbarrow? It's a wheelbarrow is what? It's a box with a wheel, maybe two wheels, a couple handles that you put stuff in and you push it, right? Now, what happens when you're pushing the wheelbarrow? It can be very heavy. You can throw tons of dirt, cinder blocks, or materials or whatnot in there. You can even stir concrete in there and move it and pour concrete, your quickcrete or whatever. But what does a wheelbarrow actually do? I want you to think about that for a second. My thing with a wheelbarrow is it does nothing other than what you tell it to do. All right, so it's the same as a candy machine. I've mentioned before in the past to get away from being the candy machine, right? And what do I mean by being a candy machine? It means, what's the candy machine do? It sits there. It's got a light on. It holds things, but it doesn't really do anything until somebody puts coins in it and then hits a button or a combination of buttons and makes it, twirl out and shoves some candy and drops it down there. And then the candy machine stops. Its job is done until the next person comes around and throws money into it. It's a couple combinations of buttons, twirls a little twirly thing, spits out some candy. I like to use these, and I've been thinking about the wheelbarrow analogy. I like it kind of in conjunction, in combination with the candy machine mentality. A wheelbarrow mentality is this mentality that I see where the wheelbarrow appears to do a lot of work, and it might even make your job a little bit easier for a little while. But then once you let go of those handles of the wheelbarrow, it just sits there. It cannot do anything on its own. It doesn't do anything on its own. It just sits there waiting for somebody to put effort into it to make it useful. And unfortunately, I see a lot of this with the younger generation. This, what I think is like being a wheelbarrow. They sit there, they don't do anything until you put shit in them, lift up on the handles, and you are doing all of the heavy lifting still. The wheelbarrow is just sitting there. It's like, well, I got a pivot point on the wheel. I'll try to roll over these obstacles. Well, but you're still having to pick up and push. The wheelbarrow doesn't carry itself anywhere. You don't tell the wheelbarrow to, hey, I need you to go over here and drop the dirt off, right? It can't. It doesn't do that. It just sits there. So you have to do all of the heavy lifting, putting the dirt in, picking up the handles, shoving it across the yard, putting it down, and unloading it all. And the wheelbarrow essentially becomes just like a bowl. It's a bowl with a wheel on it, right? This mentality of being the wheelbarrow is what I want you to kind of focus on this time around. It's because you have to make sure, if you want to be successful in life, and I'm not measuring success as being as any number value or any ownership value or anything. Success is generally just, can you take care of yourself, right? I don't care if it's taking care of yourself paycheck to paycheck, or you even have a couple of paychecks saved up. So if you lose a job or your car goes kaput, you can fix that, right? So you have a little bit of slack space. It doesn't matter. The end result of the baseline success is that you can take care of yourself. You are self-sufficient. A wheelbarrow would never be self-sufficient. Never. Because even when you're done with it, you still have to clean that wheelbarrow out. You still have to put some fresh paint on it so it doesn't rust out for you. If the wheel goes flat, you still have to fix that wheel. And if you want to upgrade it to like a two-wheel system so it's a little more stable, you have to do all the work. The wheelbarrow does none of this. It's just a toaster, right? You push a lever and it does something for a second, pops up, and its job is done, like a candy machine. The thing with a wheelbarrow is that it's heavy, right? You don't have to carry a candy machine around, right? And when you are just sitting around waiting for somebody to tell you what to do, and then you make excuses like, well, nobody told me to do this. Well, you should know some things, like, clean after yourself, right? Do your own laundry. And when you're done making food, clean up your mess, right? You don't do any of this. You're just like, well, it's somebody else's responsibility. It's nobody told me to do that this time. Now, somebody's barked at me 1,000 times in the past about making sure I do it, but they didn't bark at me this time about doing it. You become a wheelbarrow. You are like the casualty on the battlefield. And what I mean by a casualty on the battlefield is that, say you've got a team of soldiers out there going out. One soldier gets wounded. He gets shot, and wounded, and now that one soldier takes 1 to 2 other soldiers to carry him off. So now that one casualty has become 3 people taken up to 3 people or more taken off out of the combat sphere just to care for that one guy, and so forth. And so this forced victimhood on other people, and that's what I see it as forcing yourself to be a victim on the battlefield, to where other people have to carry you still. You still can't perform your job. And then when you do perform your job, you're just a wheelbarrow. Somebody still has to do all of the work, and your whole job is just to be a bowl and go over the bumps, right? You'll never see success. You're going to starve to death with that mentality. You're going to starve to death because even if your parents are nurturing you into oblivion, nurturing you so much that you will die. Because what's going to happen? You don't have to ever show love or compassion for your parents, because now you have a series of expectations of them. And you're forcing your victimhood on them. Look at me, how weak I am. You have to take care of me. And strong parents are just going to kick you out. They're like, well, I've been trying for years, and well, now it's time for you to live. Whereas the weak parent is going to feel sorry for you. They're going to nurture you. And what happens? One day you're 45, 50 years old, and you're going to be coming out. You're like, Mom, I'm hungry. Where's the food? Your mom's been dead laying on the fucking living room floor stinking up the house for 10 days. But you haven't paid attention because all you know is that every day you go and get ramen. But one day the ramen's out, and, now you're supposedly a grown-ass man. You have no skills in life. You can't do anything because somebody's nurtured you into being worthless. You can do this if you'd like. Just realize that one day it will always catch up to you. It's, whether or not you're stepping over your parents' dead bodies on the floor, laying on the floor because you're, worried about what you're going to eat while you go back to playing your computer games. Or what else is going to happen, it's, because you learn not to care for anybody else, because you've never learned to care for anybody else. You've never provided for anybody else. You've never provided for yourself. So you just have this entitlement level of expectation that other people are going to provide for you. It will always catch up to you. Don't be a wheelbarrow, is what I'm saying. Understand this. Realize it within yourself. I want you to look. I don't care what age you're at right now. Are you 12 years old? Or are you 25 years old? Right now, watching this video, you can start doing a self-assessment. How can I take care of myself? Am I taking care of myself? If you are taking care of yourself, then of course this probably doesn't apply to you, because you realize that you're both the worker bee and a wheelbarrow. You're on your own, right? Generally speaking, and that's where you start becoming an adult. But until you realize that, what you need to start doing is evaluating. Is like, what do I need to do to take care of myself? Can I take care of myself? If right now, today, I had to take care of myself, would I be able to do that? Now, if you're younger teenager, 12, 13, 14, you could. History has proven that. But there's no serious expectation for that. But once you start hitting like 17, 18, 20 years old, and you can't articulate how you're going to take care of yourself, you can't demonstrate how you take care of yourself, you've never had a job because you don't really try. You're like, well, I put it on applications, but you never follow through, whereas you see other kids getting jobs left and right. It's like, how does this teenager get 3 jobs and I can't find one? Well, I guess I'll just go think about this while I'm playing fucking games for the next 18 hours today. And I'll focus on that, and maybe somehow you know, my casualty on the battlefield ass will figure out how to get a job while I'm busy chatting with internet people and playing games. You, the sad point is that you'll always be a wheelbarrow. You'll always be this casualty on the battlefield, this forced victimhood on other people until you determine that you want to be better than this. And if you think that, and the thing is that I see this mentality that I don't have to be better. Well, that mentality means that you think you already know everything, that you don't have to be better. Once you have that set in your mind, you stop learning and stop growing. Now, you could have stopped learning and stopped growing when you were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And one of these days, it will come to call that you're going to have to do an inventory on your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and your lot in life. Are you taking care of yourself? Can you take care of yourself? You know, are you a young adult, and have you ever been grocery shopping on your own? Do you prioritize other things like gaming and your internet bill versus the food, right? I mean, would you rather spend $120 a month on new games versus $120 a month on eating, right? And then you wonder why, why nobody's taking care of you. The responsibility will always fall onto you to take care of yourself at a certain age, and by the time you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you should be on your way to independence. If you're 17 or 18 years old right now and you can't take care of yourself, you don't know how to operate basic things, you don't know what things in the house are called, you don't know how to cook anything other than pouring hot water on plastic noodles or making a peanut butter sandwich, I mean, that's fine. You can sort of survive on that. You'll be unhealthy as fuck, but you can survive for a while. You might die of a heart attack by the time you're 35, but who cares, right? I mean, do you really care? If you haven't learned to take care of yourself and you don't really care for yourself, does it really matter if you die from a heart attack at 35? I mean, I bet you while you're having a heart attack, you're going to have regrets, right? But then it'll be over soon enough, And then you're going to hope that you haven't burnt all your bridges. Somebody's going to check up on you in the next 2 months because you have burnt all your bridges because you've been such a wheelbarrow, or that you've kept yourself locked away in your room so much for years and years and years that people aren't even used to seeing you but once a week for 5 minutes. And so people just forget about you, because you're too busy entertaining yourself to, build relationships, to take care of yourself and all that stuff, that people just, if they don't have to pick up the wheelbarrow to push it around to make it seem like it's useful, they're not going to. They're going to leave it alone. They're just going to leave that wheelbarrow left in the backyard rusting until the next time they may need it. And they're like, okay, hey kid in the back room, I need you to lift heavy things, and I'm going to shove you through the yard while you hold on to this thing. And I'm just going to keep shoving you until That's a bad mentality to have. Unfortunately, I think a lot of you kids have been nurtured into oblivion. And unfortunately, you boys have been told not to be boys, and have only been nurtured into oblivion. You see this nurturing at school. You're not allowed to be a boy. You probably see this at home where boys, you shouldn't be boys. You shouldn't go out and be rough and tumble and burn off energy. And your fathers have been kicked out of the homes, by, the family court system or whatnot. And so you've been nurtured into oblivion. Or maybe you just had a dad that didn't put the time into being a dad. Right? He was too focused on himself, doing his own things, and so maybe that's a bad thing too. But in any case, one of these days you're going to have to grow up. You're going to have to be an adult and doing a self-evaluation and say, can I really take care of myself? And how? Are you really going to be happy with the rest of your life sitting on your ass in a dark, dungy room that smells like armpit for the next 30 years while somebody else has to pay for you and then you just complain that they're not doing enough for you. You know, I mean, eventually, all you're going to do is seed a lot of resent. So people or seed a lot of resentment. The people that have to take care of your wheelbarrow ass push you every step of the way, and as soon as they drop the handles, it stops and you sink in the mud. They will resent you. Chances are they're not going to, and resentment is like the opposite of love. Resentment is something that is corrosive to a person. And once that resentment seeds, man, it's hard to get in there because that rust gets in those deep dark corners, and you really can't get it out, and it will eventually eat the framework. So, anyways, that's all I got for today. Go ahead and take it for what you will. Chances are, if you're watching this and you are a young man and you already think you already know everything and whatnot, you're going to forget about these words as soon as this video ends.